The Story Behind the Cask of Amontillado by Edward Rowe Snow. While at Fort Independence, Poe, who was a private there in 1827, became fascinated with the inscriptions on a gravestone on a small monument outside the walls of the fort. Beneath this stone are deposited the remains of Lieutenant Robert F. Massey of the U.S. Regiment of Light Artillery. During the summer of 1817, Poe learned 20-year-old Lieutenant Robert F. Massey of Virginia had arrived at Fort Independence as a newly appointed officer. Most of the men at the post came to enjoy Massey's friendship, but one officer, Captain Green, took a violent dislike to him. Green was known at the fort as a bully and a dangerous swordsman. When Christmas vacations were allotted, few of the officers were allowed to leave the fort, and Christmas Eve found them up in the old barracks hall playing cards. Just before midnight, at the height of the card game, Captain Green sprang to his feet, reached across the table, and slapped Lieutenant Massey squarely in the face. "You're a cheat," he roared, "and I demand immediate satisfaction." The duel began. Captain Green, an expert swordsman, soon had Massey at a disadvantage and ran him through. Fatally wounded, the young Virginian was carried back to the fort, where he died that afternoon. His many friends mourned the passing of a gallant officer. Feeling against Captain Green ran high for many weeks, and then suddenly he completely vanished. Years went by without a sign of him, and Green was written off the Army records as a deserter. According to the story which Poe finally gathered together, Captain Green had been so detested by his fellow officers at the fort that they decided to take a terrible revenge on him for Massey's death. Visiting Captain Green one moonless night, they pretended to be friendly and plied him with wine until he was helplessly intoxicated. Then, carrying the captain down to one of the ancient dungeons, the officers forced his body through a tiny opening which led into the subterranean casemate. So there's a footnote there. So subterranean casemate is a fortified underground or partly underground room. His captors began to shackle him to the floor using the heavy iron handcuffs and foot cuffs fastened into the stone. Then they all left the dungeon and proceeded to seal the captain up alive inside the windowless casemate, using bricks and mortar. Captain Green shrieked in terror and begged for mercy, but his cries fell on deaf ears. The last brick was finally inserted, mortar applied, and the room sealed up, the officers believed, forever. In 1905, workmen repairing the fort found a skeleton inside, shackled to the floor with a few fragments of an old army uniform clinging to the bones.